Okay, so Mom and I are gonna talk about what happened at Bobby Mackey's before we forget all the details, because there was a lot of stuff that happened and kind of wanted to record it with some corroborating witness testimony. That'd be my mom. So we got there last night, and the first thing that we did was go down to the basement through the well room, which is supposedly the most haunted location or part of the location. And that is the room that Carl tore the floor up in. There is a legend that Pearl Bryant, who was murdered nearby, that her head was found in the well. That's false. They never actually found her head. They believe that it was probably incinerated at the dental college nearby, which is, nobody will know. Nobody knows. So we went down to the well room. There was a group of about 20 people. And we decided to do a spirit box session in what they call the Room of Faces. I'm not sure why they call it the Room of Faces. Did she say anything about the faces?
I think it was whenever they did that ghost hunt thing that there were images on the wall, because they think that that's where they did all the seances.
Oh, yeah.
Stuff like that.
Zach Bagans called it like the
gateway to...
The gateway to hell, or the devil worship room or something. It's not. It's just like a concrete room in a basement. But there are toys all over because people come there to bring toys for little kids. There's a lot of little kid laughing that you hear. I heard a lot of little kid laughing. So anyway, my expectations weren't super high. But I did buy some dowsing rods from Amazon for like $12 before we did this. Sorry, I didn't tell Nathan about that until I got here. So, what was this in the Amazon cart? Dowsing rods. So we got there, we did the spirit box session. Like I said, there's like 20 people in there. You're just kind of, it's going backwards. So the words don't really make any sense. You can't even make out a lot of words. It's kind of like, garbled. Like, are you here? Yes, no, simple stuff. But when you start getting sentences, like 3 and 4 words together, that's when it gets a little intense. And so we were in this room, which is basically like a bomb shelter. It's a deep concrete room with 20 people. The lights are off. The spirit box is going. And people are asking questions like, did you die here? Did you work here as a showgirl? And so I spoke up and I said, do you know the name of anybody in this room right now? And like clear as day, and we didn't know each other. We're 20 strangers. We didn't know each other.
And we'd only been there for
like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
We were just getting there. Just like clear as day goes, Serena. And I didn't respond because I wanted to see if anybody else heard that. And like 5 different people were like, did it just say Serena?
Who's Serena?
Who's Serena?
In your name,
and
Serena?
I was like, that's my name. They're like, that's a weird name. Did everybody hear that? Like, yeah, we heard that. It was very strange that so many people heard it without me reacting. There was a girl in the room that had a set of dowsing rods, which the way they're supposed to work is they're copper wires, and they generally cross for a yes, or they swing open for a no, or they point, if you say like point to the person in the room that you want to talk to. So she was standing to my right, and they said, okay, we're going to do the Estes method, which is where you send a person out of the room with sound isolating headphones on, and they have the spirit box playing in the headphones, and then people inside of a different room ask questions, and the person outside the other room starts yelling answers that they think they're hearing.
Yeah.
Which, again, there are long periods of time you don't hear anything. It gets really quiet, and you just don't hear anything. It's like, blah, 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 blah. At one point, I was pretty sure I was getting yelled at in Korean, but I could have been wrong about that. They said, do you want to talk to somebody in this room? And she was holding the dowsing rods, which are, just sitting like this still, and then all of a sudden they're like, and they're pointing to me, and the host lady was like, do you feel comfortable doing that? I said, yeah, I can do that. So I went.
Mom said no.
My mom was like, don't you dare. So we went into I alone went into the well room, which, you know,
The
is the most
spookiest place there.
by myself in the dark. I was like, yeah, I did it. With the headphones on, they're asking questions. The other, I don't actually know any of the questions they asked because I didn't follow up like a good investigator. But at one point, it got a little weird, where some of the things I was hearing, where they were like, "It's a knife, drop it," and you know,
he's got a knife.
He's got a knife, and drop it, and apparently, Mom would have to tell you that there was a girl in the other room that had a word bank, and you know, it sprouts off. There's like 50,000 words in it, and it'll just randomly spout off words, which it sounds like it has Tourette's, because sometimes it's like planet, you know, fungus. But apparently what happened was...
Well, somebody said, whenever you were saying, you know, he's got a knife, there's a knife, and somebody said, what are you going to do with that knife? What do you plan on doing with that knife? And she goes, oh, and we were like, what? And on
the word bank?
On the word bank, it says, tear them up.
Yeah, slash it up or something.
Yeah. And so I freaked out because that was my daughter in the other room. So I told him, I said, no, get my daughter out of there. I don't want her in there by herself anymore. And right after I said that, Serena yells in,
what did I say?
Don't.
Stop overreacting.
Yeah, stop overreacting. Which was, you know, quite a few words. I thought she was talking to me. And I'm like, I'm not overreacting. Get yourself in here. And she goes, what? And I said, I wasn't overreacting. And she's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I couldn't hear
anything.
She said, I was only saying what they said.
Yeah. I couldn't hear anything. In fact, when the girl came to get me out of the other room, she like gently tapped me on the shoulder, and I'm pretty sure I let out a lot of cuss words because I didn't hear her coming. It really freaked me out.
So they were responding because when I wanted her out of there, they responded to me then by telling me I was overreacting.
Yeah, that was kind of funny.
So yeah,
those woody spirits.
Yes. So
what then? We went upstairs.
Yeah.
To the there's a large room with a bowl in it, like a mechanical bowl. I'm watching the timer on the phone just in case it stops recording. Okay. I've never recorded a video this long. So there's a mechanical bowl upstairs, and apparently some people see shadow people in the corner behind the mechanical bowl. It's a shadowy area. It's a bar.
One of the pool balls had rolled into the...
A previous group had a pool ball that like moved itself into a pocket.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. But we were all upstairs, and I kind of tucked myself into a corner because there's 20 people, and all of a sudden everybody's asking questions like, do you want Serena to talk to you? And I was like, Serena doesn't want to talk to anybody. I'm just gonna like sit over there. So I sat in the corner kind of away from everybody.
I had her rods.
Oh, Mom had my dowsing rods.
And there were like 3 pair of them.
Yeah, there was people had them. And the host had like REM pods and all these cool sensors out on the table, and the dowsing rods. And she was like, do you have a message for us? Do you want to talk to somebody here? And me, like, she's standing like this facing the group, and I'm standing back there, and the rods go.
All of the rods.
All 3 pairs of rods, which were strategically placed like throughout the room with different people. They all went, and were pointing right at me. And I was like, this is ridiculous. So I got up and I moved across the room to where the mechanical bull was.
And she took the dowsing rods from me.
Yeah.
Her rods.
So I took my rods, I kind of set them aside, and I walked over and I said, if you really want to talk to me, you can tell me. And I walked over to the mechanical bull, and everybody's rods go.
They just followed her.
And so I whipped out my rods, thinking they were going to give me like a yes and no response. And I was like, do you have something to say to me? And the rods start to cross, and they cross like this, and they went, and they, like, I was holding them out like this far. They're long enough that they should have probably hit me. But they turned and pointed right at me. I was like, well, ficus. Crap. So that was pretty clear. There was a lot of stuff that happened near where I was. Things happened a lot like where I was, which was, I'm very skeptical when people are like, it touched me, it pulled my hair, it scratched me, it said my name.
It said her name.
It was very strange. Early on during the night, during the spirit box section, I heard somebody say Hannah. I heard it twice. It's like, what's your name? Hannah. What's your name? Hannah. And then they kept asking, and they're like, is your name Sally or Susie? I was like, she said her name is Hannah. So throughout the night, we were doing different activities, and I would be like, is Hannah here? And it would react. And then we were doing one activity. I was like, is your name actually Hannah? And it went to no. It's like, all right, is it Anna? And it kind of just sat still. It's like, is it Jana? And we went through the whole like letter of the alphabet. And then the host was like, I'm going to go through letters. If it starts with this letter, you know, you're going to light something up for yes.
What, that was when we were doing the pendulum.
Yeah. She got to letter, like she did them out of order. Letter A, it lights up. And so we're calling this thing Anna because we don't know any better. And throughout the night, we're just like, where's Anna? Is Anna here? And at the very end of the night, I'm going to skip ahead because that was like really cool. At the very end of the night, we were in the back area where Carl had his exorcism. And we were in that room with the spirit box, and we had a bunch of sensors set up that weren't going off for anybody, but if you set them near me, they would go off. And they were like cat balls. You have to shake them in your hand really hard to get them to light up. And so they would set them by me and say, do you want to go stand by Serena? Light up. So the spirit box was on the table, and I was like, is Anna here? And our leader walked away. She walked about 40 feet away. I think she was going to get a coffee or something.
But you said Hannah. Is Hannah
here? And the leader started walking away. She walked like 40 feet away. And all of a sudden, the thing yelled as clear as day, my name is Anne. And it yelled it so loud that the lady like across the room goes, oh my gosh, did you guys hear that? We're like, well, who didn't hear that? It was so clear and loud. There was, what else happened? At one point we were using EMF detectors, which I've always been kind of skeptical of. It detects an electromagnetic field around it. It looks like a TV remote. And it's on green when it's neutral, and then it shoots up to red if it's really active. And then if you're like, most times if something happens, it'll like flicker to yellow a little bit. And she handed me one, and she's like, here, you stand in the middle of the room. We're going to go all the way around you with the other ones and see if there's anything happening from the electrical, because the place is a total dive and there's like wires hanging down and it's sketchy. And I was holding it like in front of me, not moving, and they're like, if you want to talk to Serena, you know, come over and light it up. And it was just sitting at green. I was like, okay, so clearly they don't like this method. And all of a sudden it just shot to red and stayed there. And the lady was like, okay, don't move. I'm going to hand you a second one and see what happens. So it turned off, went to green. So I took the second one and I held my hands apart. I was like, so they think maybe I was making that up. Can you do it again with both of them? Light up like a Christmas
all the
tree.
way to red.
All the way to red. And they just sat there for a minute. And then there was a cat ball on the
behind
table.
her.
On the table behind me.
Where nobody was sitting. It was just
nobody was near
table.
me. It was like 2 feet away. And they were like, are you serious? What is it about Serena? And then all of a sudden the cat ball started going off. I was like, I'm going to set these down and let somebody else just do this for a while. And then they didn't do anything. They literally like just sat. I'm trying to think of...
People came in and out of the room. Well, then it said her name again.
Oh, when I told it couldn't come home with me, I said, you can't. What did it say?
It was well, the lady, because she was a little concerned because it had really attached itself to Serena. So she said, you do realize that when we leave, you cannot go home with Serena. You have to stay here. Yeah. And it said, oh, Serena, like, you know, oh, we
kind of like when my husband says it, Serena.
Yeah, oh, Serena. And she said, you know, no, you can't go home with her. She's going to go to Chicago,
And what did it say?
And
It said, "Oh, it's windy there."
It's windy there.
I was like, "Well, yes, it is windy in Chicago, in fact."
Well, no, I don't think we said Chicago. It said you can't go home with her, and because that's what freaked me, was because it knew where you were from, because it said, it's windy there.
Yep.
And we were like, yeah, it's Chicago.
At one point, I felt like it was it was intelligent. It was answering my questions. If I said, "Can you point to like the mail in the room?" It's very slow. It would just like very slowly cross, except for the point where I was like cross with it, where I was like, "Do you have something to say with me?"
Yeah.
It was.
And following her across the room, when she moved, it just like she was a magnet.
It was intimidating.
It followed her. Other people would move. It did not follow them.
Yeah, it was very intimidating.
Nobody else. But it definitely followed her.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was a really cool experience. It was very creepy. It was creepy in the way that it felt like I was talking to somebody on the phone. Like, I knew they could hear me. Like, "Hey, can you light up that cat ball? Can you do something?" "Oh, look, it's happening." Well, that's cool. At one point, because I realized we hadn't taken any pictures or any recordings, so I was standing up with my phone, and I was like, "I'm gonna record. Can you make all the meters go off again?" And nothing happened for like 10 minutes. And I said, What's the problem?" And the spirit goes, "Stop recording."
Well, no, at first it told you to sit down.
Oh, it said sit down.
Yeah, it kept saying sit down.
And
different voices.
Yeah, it was a woman's voice and then a man's voice. And I was
down.
walking around. And so finally I walked to the other side of the table and I said, "Okay, I'm going to stop recording." And I put the phone down.
But it was still on.
It was still on. And I put the phone down and I walked to the other side of the table. I said, "I'm going to sit down." And one of the voices goes, "Not there."
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Oh, and then what did it say when I put my head down at the table at one point? Because there were long periods of time where nothing came through the box at all and it was very quiet. I put my head down on the table like this, and a man's voice came through and he goes, "Well, this is awkward."
Yeah.
And then I kind of shot up because it sounded like somebody, like a guy my age, was like, "Well, this is awkward." And I popped my head up and I looked around, and the voice in the box, which, remember, you only get like one word at a time. You're very lucky if you get 2 words. One word at a time. It said, "She's looking now." I'm like, what am I looking at? It was totally dark. I couldn't see anything.
But it did tell her to stop recording.
Yeah, it did tell me to stop recording very clearly.
Yeah, stop recording.
Yeah.
Like that. Stop recording.
I should go back through the video and see if you can actually hear it.
Oh, yeah.
I think I turned it off and I was like, "What's the problem?" And it was like, "Stop recording." I was like, "Okay, that's cool. I'll do whatever you say." Because it reacted to everything I said.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, I wasn't going to like piss it off. But yeah, it was definitely, it was interesting for me to see other people holding the detectors and nothing happening, and like holding the rods and nothing happening, or like asking questions and not getting any responses. There was a couple of loud knocks and things that when we were standing near the stage,
they thought was from the ice or the vault room.
There was a gentleman across the room, like, I don't know, 50 plus feet away, and this loud thud. It sounded like metal on metal. It was loud. So I assumed that what somebody had done was stood up from their chair and like banged it. And I got up and I walked over to that guy who was in the corner and I said, "Did you move?" He goes, "No, did you hear that?" I said, "Yeah, I heard that." So we both got up, we walked into the vault room, and the large safe that is in the vault room from back when it was a speakeasy had opened. And it was open, I was just in that room before it was open like this much, and it was open like wide. It's a very heavy door, but it didn't make any noise. Whenever I was trying to close it and recreate the noise, it wasn't coming from the vault. So clearly it came from that area. I don't know what caused it. It was loud enough for us to all hear, where we thought somebody had done something with the chair. Yeah. But nobody claimed that one.
There were people there that had their own equipment too.
Oh,
and one of them,
the little
really
like
cool.
stick figure
Yeah,
thing.
the stick figure thing was really cool because when they were down by the well downstairs, there were two figures that were just kind of leaning against the wall, like this, these stick figures, and then one kneeled down and was looking like down in the well. And then when you were up by the stage,
it was sitting at the foot of the stage, but it was kind of like lounging, and then it would move. And so the guy behind me, bless his heart, he was like, "Oh, it's glitching." And he walked over to it and stood exactly where it was, and then it disappeared. We're like, all right, well, it might have been glitching. We're not sure.
There was also one that was a stage hog because they put one of those cat balls up on the stage and nobody's moving. We're way out where the audience
they were like jumping in front of the stage trying to get it to go off, like mosh pitting in front of the stage. It's not going off at all.
They're trying to get it to dance with them and stuff. And then everybody goes back, sits down, and then it goes off.
And it went off repeatedly.
Yeah, it kept going off okay, now I'm going to perform for you.
So we actually walked over and I grabbed it. I was like, maybe it's broken, because it continually went off for like 5 minutes. And I picked it up in my hand, and as soon as I touched it, it went off. Like, it shut off. It didn't do anything.
You're right, it stopped.
And then I set it next to me, and it didn't do anything. And then at one point, I knocked it off the table.
Oh, that was in the back room. Yeah.
I knocked it off the table.
And so he goes, one of the voice goes, whoopsie.
Yeah. I knocked the cat ball off the table and it lights up and the voice goes, whoopsie.
And then, so there is a story that there's supposed to be a cat.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, a ghost cat or whatever there too. Because people have smelled cat pee, but there's never been any cat.
I don't know if that's a ghost thing or not.
Yeah, I don't know. But
the bar is pretty fragrant.
When the ball went off at one time, we definitely heard a meow.
Yeah.
A meow. It was really funny. And then somebody said, one of the voices said something like, the cat's here.
Yeah, it's here.
The cat's here. Yeah.
Yeah. So we got a lot of voices picked up. They're coming, or it's here now. Just things that are vague but interesting that'll make you think like, oh, something's here. What is it?
Or were they talking about us?
Yeah.
Because a lot of it was, they're coming, they're here, and it was when we first got there and stuff, it was like, okay, entertainment's here for the evening.
Yep.
So that was
my ears rang so loud when we went downstairs into the concrete room, kind of like when you're around like power lines or something and it, like tinnitus, and it rings really loud. It was hard to be in that room. It was where we did the ghost box session that said my name. It was hard to be in that room because the ringing in my ears was so loud, and I kept looking around and nobody else was like, there was no problem.
No, nobody else complained. The only thing, one girl complained about her shoulder hurt.
Yeah, her shoulder hurt. And we asked, we're like, Ann, did you do that? And it was like, yes.
Yeah.
And
didn't seem to like her.
No, it called her a bee at one point.
Yeah.
The spirit box is not supposed to have any cuss words in it.
It doesn't have any cuss word vocabulary.
No, but it will make its own up if it's so inclined.
And it
I think it even said like, get out, bee, or something.
Yeah.
To that.
And we heard SHIT quite a few times too.
F something. Yeah, I was surprised. I was like, can we check the spirit dictionary? Where's it learning all this potty language? So, anyway, it was really cool. Other interesting things being in the well room that is super haunted that I was in by myself in the dark. Get a cookie for that one.
There was a little bit of activity with those. The two younger men went upstairs to Carl's apartment. Is upstairs. He lived there.
Yeah.
And
full of asbestos. If you go, bring a
mask,
ventilator.
Yeah. Anyhow, they went upstairs and they saw a shadow just leaning against the wall. And then they sat down at the table and one of the chairs scooted. And whenever those two girls went up with their stuff, they saw somebody. There was a figure sitting with their little stick people was sitting at that table.
The stick people thing I was skeptical about, but it was really interesting to watch because she walked through the whole place and I was kind of creeping behind her like, oh, you have expensive equipment, let me watch. And they weren't really anywhere. And then all of a sudden it would show up like on the ceiling in the corner.
Yeah, she found a lot of them on the ceiling.
And then it would move. It would be like over here, going back. I'm like, so I'm dancing in front of it thinking, okay, there's something, you know, I'm going to do the robot. And it was just very sensitive to like whatever I was doing. It was very reflective of.
Well, she came downstairs and when we were in that back room, and she said, there was something on the ceiling here. I said on the ceiling, she goes, yes, I find a lot of them hiding on the ceiling. And the voice said, yeah, we hide.
Oh, yeah, it did say that.
It said,
like,
yeah, we hide. And that was really freaky because it was going in with our conversation.
Yeah, it's very sporadically would throw out things that we were talking about. We just kind of left it on in the background. It's like background noise because it doesn't come up with a lot of words. You don't hear like, it's not like every other word is something audible.
No,
it's also in reverse mode. I think I said that. Like it was in reverse mode, so all the words that we heard were just like fire, cat. You just.
That's why when it said Serena.
Yeah.
And it said her name twice. It said beginning of the night, and then it said it was like 2:00 in the morning when it thought it was going to go home with her. Serena.
Oh, Serena. Yeah, that was a little intense.
For Mom too.
Yeah, I mean, it was enough to freak me out. I told the lady, I said, I'm going to donate my dowsing rods to you because I don't want to bring them home. I'm a little nervous about bringing these back with me. And she's like, oh, you'll be fine. It's a full moon outside. Just leave them outside and any energy that's on it will just like clear itself off. I was like, is that a thing? Is that really a thing?
We left them outside on the
porch last night. It was intense. So I guess the bottom line is we had a really good time. Bobby Mackey's Music World in Wilder, Kentucky. It is in a shady area. It's total dive. You walk in and the floors are like funhouse floors. So when I first walked in, I was like, this is really disorienting. I bet a lot of people are going to be like, I'm dizzy, I'm lightheaded. You know,
Bobby Mackey hasn't done anything to the place for
nobody's
40
done
years?
anything to the place. He bought it in like 78 and nobody's done anything to the place. The ceilings are like bowed down. I was like, we're probably all getting like black mold poisoning being in here.
The basement was very large.
Yeah.
That was amazing to me. The footprint of the basement seemed to be even larger than the upstairs. There were rooms downstairs that had, for when they had it as a nightclub with the Latin nightclub, that were the showgirls' dressing rooms.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, and the guys had seen some activity in those too. It was funny. A lot of people followed Serena around because she seemed to be the hot spot for the night.
Yeah, I thought maybe it was just me, but I mean, there was 20 people, and they would pick up activity when they were hanging around me.
Yeah.
And that was kind of nice, but also very weird. So,
yeah.
I don't know. I can't say I won't go back. It was interesting. It was engaging. But I feel like a lot of other people in our group, like, not a lot happened to them when we weren't like together. So like, I guess it's hit or miss. Today my ears are fine. I have 0 ear ringing. As soon as we left the property, my ears stopped ringing.
She sprayed us down.
She did spray us with like holy water before we left just to make sure. But it was very, very cool. I will put the link down for the ghost hunt company that we went through. Like I said, they provided all of the equipment, the REM pods, the sensors, the recorder thingies.
And we did have a lady there that has been 8 years doing the ghost tours for Bobby Mackey.
Laura Bobby Mackey.
And she knows all the history and everything there. So she's
with Gatekeeper Tours.
She gave us a tour of the place and the history of it. So that's how we found out about what was true and what was not.
One of my favorite detail was in that well room.
That was cool.
There's flower wallpaper. You never see it in the ghost documentaries because it's dark.
Well, it's just kind of powdery
Yeah,
paper
so
on the wall.
it's
now.
inside of what was that house. You can see the exterior siding. Like somebody just dropped the house, like the Wizard of Oz, in the middle of this basement. And inside of the house, there's a well in the middle of the floor that Carl apparently just dug up one day. Bobby Mackey came into work and was like, Bobby, what the heck are you doing? Or what's his name? Carl, what the heck are you doing? It's like, I gotta dig, man. He's got his axe.
And that's when they uncovered the well.
They uncovered the well, which the well, like I said, it was just from the distillery.
Right.
There was a hedgehog or something living. What was it?
Groundhog.
A groundhog living in there. And yeah, it was really.
So they were
Those are
teasing
cool.
her because the paper was kind of pinkish and her hair is pink. And they were saying, do you like pink? Is that
Do you
why
like
you're
pink?
picking on Serena? And it did answer yes with
Yeah.
the dowsing rods a couple times that they liked her pink.
Yeah. The dowsing rods were really cool. I will probably use them again for something in the future. I don't know. I'm not going to use them in my house. But they were...
To scare the kids.
It's easy to mess them up if you can feel it. You can feel the weight shift. But what I would do is I'd be like, tell me when you're going to ask a question. I'm going to hold my breath. So I'd hold my breath and not move. And then it would either not move at all or it would go.
I remember a couple of times I was holding them and she would put her hands
I put my hands over top of mine so
to make sure that we were not
that
moving.
was really scary, actually. I forgot about that. I blocked that out.
It swung around and pointed straight at her.
So we were holding hands like this and we had the dowsing rods because I was like, Mom, I think your hands are moving. She's like, your hands are moving. So we held them like this and they kind of just pointed outright for like a long time.
Yeah.
And then I was like, can you point at my mom? And then very slowly they moved. And they're like, and then you have to ask, you say, will you reset the rods, please? That's important. Because if they don't, you don't really know it like really happened. We're like, can you reset the rods? And it was like, and then it just stopped. Can you point at Serena? I was like, oh crap, intelligent answers. Yeah, that was really scary because I knew it wasn't just me. I was holding my mom's hands. Nothing happened for like a 4-minute segment and then they started moving. That was intense.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I should probably stop talking now because I could go on and on about this.
Okay.
My face is getting all flushed. So now we get to drive. I got to go pick up Natalie and we're going to drive back to Chicago. I know I just overloaded all of you guys with a lot of information. A lot of you guys knew that we were coming to do this. And I've been getting texts all morning like, oh my gosh, did you fall in the portal to hell? No, it's a well from a distillery.
Which, by the way, there are 2 more at the ends of the property where they were the distillery, and there's only 1 building left from the distillery, and it is across the street.
Oh, Dad's calling. All right, we gotta go. Thanks, guys.